Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
In the Bill of Rights now, there wouldn't be any such thing as the Second Amendment.
Which says?
That a well-regulated militia being necessary for the defense of the state, that people's rights to bear arms. This has been the subject of one of the greatest pieces of fraud, I repeat the word fraud, on the American public by special interest groups that I have ever seen in my lifetime. Now just look at those words. There are only 3 lines to that amendment. A well-regulated militia. If the militia, which was going to be the state army, was going to be well-regulated, why shouldn't 16 and 17 and 18 or any other age persons be regulated in the use of arms?
That's another way to look at it. Chief Justice Warren Burger over there in 1991 telling you what a scam, what a fraud the NRA has perpetrated on the American people, causing us to kill each other because guns are cool, because people get obsessed with them. Shooting is fun. Until somebody dies, it probably is. But we have a National Guard. That's the well-regulated militia for the preservation of a free state. The State National Guard. That is the well-regulated militia. And if you really want to understand the history of the well-regulated militia, you could go back and look at what the regulations were. But you're not interested. But if you were, and you went and you looked, you would see that you had to have your little powder balls, and you had to have a certain number of them in your pouch. They had to be one next to the other and well kept. You had to open them for inspection. You had to muster, meaning show up. You people are just obsessed to the point of blinding yourselves to what is knowable. Because you're afraid if you knew what a well-regulated militia and what the regulations actually were and are, then you wouldn't be entitled to have a shotgun and a handgun and a AR or whatever the hell else you were going to reveal to me that you have in your little hoarding habit that's going on there in the hinterlands of Nebraska.
Yeah, not just obsessed, but delusional, as Davy Crockett there in Nebraska proceeds to tell you how he's protecting his town from coyotes and other varmints. It's unbelievable.
Well, the varmint part, okay, that's probably true enough. I mean, you know, we all have varmints. I have varmint. I don't shoot the iguanas, okay? I don't. And when I lived in a place that did have, you know, like wild boars, and I did live in a place that, you know, on my lawn was a freaking tapir and a wild boar. You know, I never thought of killing it. You know why? It's illegal. It's illegal. In places where they do have these kinds of animals, where they do have, you know, animals that will root out your garden and eat your stuff, you still can't shoot them. You know, biodiversity being what it is and how important it is to places that value biodiversity. You're not allowed to kill the wildlife. You can't. But everybody here, oh, we got to kill the wildlife. You know, that's what I'm doing. I'm protecting it. All right, maybe you're afraid of a coyote. I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe you got some crazy deer that looks at you funny and you feel the need to actually assassinate it. I can't, you know, diagnose you for that. But I can tell you, you don't have the right to keep and bear arms. Maybe if we go back to the Heller decision, which was wrong. Even Antonin Scalia, the conservative, said what you may have a right to is a handgun to protect your house. That's it. Everything else you could regulate. Everything else you had to, you know, you could do background checks. You could do red flag laws. You know what I really want to do, though? What I really want to do is tax the crap out of bullets. That's what I really want to do. Just avoid all this nonsense and all these maniacs and all these ill-informed, poorly educated people about the history of the United States or about the Constitution under which they live a free or somewhat free life, because we're getting less free. We're getting more illiberal. We're becoming, basically Israel. You know, Israel was one of the world's greatest democracies, but it's only 75 years old. They picked the wrong guy. They picked the wrong guy more than once. And now Benjamin Netanyahu is literally a subject of a indictment by the courts. Yes, he's under indictment, and so is his wife. And so his thing is, I'm going to destroy the courts. See, because when a government goes bad, my friend, when a government goes bad, they don't come to your house and steal your I don't know, what the hell do you have? Capitamonte? What do you got there? Some hunting gear? You know, they're not going to come and pick your pocket, okay? They're not interested in anything that's in your pocket. When they come to steal from you, you know what they steal? They steal your rights. You're stealing from me right now. You're stealing the right that I have, and it's an inalienable right, whether you like it or not, to be secure in my own person, right? To not have somebody make medical decisions for me. You're stealing that right from me. That's how a government steals from you. The government isn't going to come to your house and steal from you in the way that you think a handgun is going to, protect you. They're going to steal from you by stealing the Social Security Trust Fund, you see. They're going to steal from you by stealing the Medicare Trust Fund. You get it? You understand? They're going to steal from you by stealing your rights away. And you don't have a Second Amendment right, so they're going to waste your time and effort on protecting a right you never had while they take away the other rights that you do have, which is like the right to privacy, the right to security, the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to pursue of your happiness. Those are the rights they'll take away from you. And trust me, your handgun isn't going to protect you from any of that. None of it. And when, we get the next really bad autocrat and he destroys the rest of the Supreme Court and puts it under his powers and their, his tutelage, his patronage, right? Like Netanyahu's doing in Israel. You know what it's going to take? Look at Israel. It's going to take 12 weeks of prolonged, persistent, daily, unarmed, nonviolent protests. And it's going to have to reach across the aisle. I'm going to become your new best friend. Yes, me. Me and you, pal. Because the answer to autocrats and the answer to taking away people's rights is unity and persistence. And that's why in democratic countries, you see people go out to the streets with flags, not guns. You see them go out to the street chanting, not shooting. You see them reaching across the aisle so that the symphony, okay, the artists in the Israeli symphony orchestra are now one with the police. They're now one with the National Guard. They're now one with the right-wing religious, the irreligious, or the secular Israelis. And there are many more secular Israelis than there are religious Israelis. They become friends. And that's how you defeat a tyrannical government. So what is all this that's going on here? It's an attempt to divide us over rights that you don't even have.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Lord, when babies die at a church school, it is time for us to move beyond thoughts and prayers. Remind our lawmakers of the words of the British statesman Edmund Burke. All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Lord, deliver our senators from the paralysis of analysis that waits for the miraculous. Use them to battle the demonic forces that seek to engulf us. We pray in your powerful name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So this is all by design. I just want the smarter people in this audience to start talking to the people who need to hear this the most, that what happens when a government goes bad, what happens when a government actually starts to take away the rule of law from people, because the people that are in charge are now under indictment by virtue of breaking the rule of law. And they don't like it. So they dismantle the rule of law. They dismantle the courts. They dismantle. And that's what's going on in Israel, just so you know. Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife, they're all under indictment. And he doesn't want to face the music. He doesn't want to be held accountable for his fraud. And it's always fraud, okay? It's stealing. And so he's trying to dismantle the Supreme Court and put the Supreme Court, make himself be in charge of the Supreme Court instead of, three branches of government, even in their parliamentary system. And so the people were just like, okay, we can see the writing on the wall. This is what you would call an illiberal, undemocratic, autocratic, dictator who has, been put into the prime ministership, the presidency, essentially, of Israel. And he is trying to destroy the rule of law. He's trying to destroy civil society. And he's doing it by dismantling the court. Okay. In our case, it would be like things like defund the FBI, defund DOJ. Instead of repairing it, fixing it, or saying, that we shouldn't have no-knock warrants or whatever it is. Instead of repair, he wants to destroy it. And the people of Israel understand that, and they think democracy is more important than Benjamin Netanyahu is. And so they formed alliances, coalitions of people who normally don't agree on anything. Like I said, you have the artists, you have the musicians, the opera singers, teaming up with, the military, with the National Guard, okay, with all kinds of people that they normally would not be bonding with. And they built these coalitions to show unity in one principle, and that principle is a democratic society, a civil society, over an autocrat. And so, and they've been out on the streets for 12 weeks now. Israel looks like a total chaotic mess unless you actually look at what's going on. And what's going on is people are showing up, people power, coalitions of people who don't normally agree about anything, coalescing together, building a unified front against a tyrannical government. That, my friend, is how you beat back a tyrannical government. Otherwise, you end up like David Koresh. He was hoarding weapons too. The reason why the ATF went to Waco in the first place, and it's just so interesting that you have presidential wannabes going to Waco, okay, because of the symbolism of building an arsenal of your. He was building his own weapons, okay. He was building automatic weapons there, like millions of them or whatever. I don't know how many he wanted to have to beat back the tyrannical government. And it didn't turn out well because you don't do it by force. You don't do it with violence. You're not going to go up against, the ATF or the United States military or the National Guard of your state. You're not going to go up against the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, not even the Coast Guard, okay? You're not going to go up against them and come out triumphant with your handgun and your shotgun and, even a few hundred AR-15s and some crazy people wearing camo. That's not how it works. In fact, that's exactly how it doesn't. It works when people are unified. It works when there are coalitions of people that are normally not coalesced. When you have people from major national institutions joining in with the flotsam and the jetsam, with us, with the unwashed masses. Okay, when you have people who are part of the government teaming up with, the people that are not part of the government to build a unified force, and they are persistent in their protesting, that's when it crumbles. So what Netanyahu has done is he got scared by the people. The people are what every government is afraid of. You understand that, right? The people are the power, and dividing us is essential. It's essential for their plot, for their plan. So if it is a tyrannical government that you're afraid of, understand that one of the things that they love to deploy against you and me is dividing you and me so that we can't have a unified front. So they create this war, this cultural divide that isn't real, to divide us so that we don't go to the streets, so that we aren't a unified front, so that we don't coalesce with persistence and say, this isn't going to fly. You don't take Randi's rights away from her. Okay, you don't say she can't be secure in her own things. You can't say she can't be secure in her own person. Okay, you can't tell this man or that woman that you're going to legislate or police their sexual behavior. Okay, you're not going to legislate morality for me, and you're certainly not going to legislate it for them. And the second you start to try, we understand that it's just for the sake of division. We understand that it's to keep us disunified so that you can steal from us. And they're not going to come to your little house in Nebraska and steal whatever you think is valuable to you. They're going to steal your Social Security. They're going to steal your Medicaid. They're going to steal, the SNAP program from children. They'll steal candy right out of babies' mouths. They will. That's how they steal. Nobody's going to show up at your doorstep unless you're molesting children like David Koresh was. But this is what it takes. It takes an unprecedented alliance, not an unprecedented show of violent force. That is not convincing. You build something, they will come out. It's like that old thing. What, you come at somebody with a knife, they bring a gun. You bring a gun, they bring a cannon. I mean, it just escalates, right? It just escalates. The thing that governments are terrified of are unprecedented alliances that spans religious, political, social, ethnic, class differences. Things like when everyone gets together, regardless of their station in life, regardless of their ethnic background, regardless of their religious beliefs or no beliefs, regardless of their political beliefs or what, when they come together and form an unprecedented alliance, that is when things change. That is when the people are prioritized. And only then. Only then. So this whole ridiculous argument about you need guns to protect yourself from a tyrannical... No, you need me. You need me. The very person that you would disagree with most is the person you need to build an alliance with. That's how you defeat tyrannical governments. That's how you keep checks and balances alive. That's how you keep justice as a thing. That's how you keep privacy and security and liberty intact. Anytime you hear or see somebody stand on a stage and say, I alone can fix it, or the unitary executive theory of order, that's when you need to reach out to me. And I need to reach out to you and convince you that I'm right. And that the only thing that saves us from that is us. And it's really not that it's not complicated. It does take persistence. And it does take nads. You have to put your ego aside and believe in something bigger. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to RandiRhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.